What's up, YouTube? Thanks for tuning into A Hero's Escape, your place for all things Heroescape. Today, I'm going to be doing a video teaching how to paint miniatures using Renegade's new Heroescape release, the Valkyrie Warriors Army Expansion set right here. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with that, beginning with priming. Before you prime your miniatures, you're actually going to want to wash these guys with dish soap. Now, I'm not convinced this really actually does all that much to make the primer stick any better, but everyone else on the internet says that this is a necessary step, so I'm not about to be the one to steer you wrong. So with one hand here, I'm going to try to get the dish soap onto the miniature as best I can. There, we got a big chunk of it, and now we're just going to rub it in. I'm not exactly sure how you're even supposed to do this with miniatures like this that have so many small little grooves and nooks and crannies, but this is what the internet suggests. So again, I'm not trying to be the one to steer you wrong. Just soap that whole thing up as best you can. Turn on the water. Probably cooler water is best because this is plastic. You don't want to soften it too much. And then just start rinsing it out with water until all the dish soap is gone. Once you have fully rinsed off your miniatures and there's no longer any dish soap remaining, you're going to want to lay them out somewhere to dry for a couple hours. Against my better judgment, I'm actually just going to lay them out on the carpet right here, and I'll see you in a couple hours when it's time to prime. Once your figures are finally dry, it's time for primer. Now, I don't think most people would recommend using yellow, but that seems to be what I've always used, and it seems to work just fine, so I don't know why you wouldn't. Also, it is not advised to do primer when it is this cold outside with snow on the ground, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And we're just gonna get a good coat, but be careful not to lay it on too thick, or else your guys are gonna be shaped weird when you end up painting them. Alright guys, our primer is dry and it's time to get started with the painting. Now, as I've explained in some other videos, I really just use craft store acrylic paint, but I do use the Army Painter paints for the metallics at least. But we're going to start with this one here. I can't recall the character's name off the top of my head, but yes, this is how we're going to begin. And basically the way you want to go about this is start with the lowest, or the bottom layer first is probably the best way to say that. So in this case, I'm going to start with her skin right here, and maybe there's a little bit of fabric right here and her cape. And then I will probably move on to the wings and the armor. So her skin is a dark brown, and to make brown, you're just mixing your primary colors together, essentially. And to get the right shade, we'll probably put a little bit of black in there. Alright, I think that's probably good. So, as far as paintbrushes go, you really just want a fine point brush. You don't need a bunch of fancy different brushes. You just need a very fine point brush. I do not take good care of my brushes at all, so this is no longer very fine point. It's very spread out now, but I still make it work. But this is just an Army Painter brush, fine point. But yeah, mine is no longer a fine point. But anyway, that's pretty much what you want for these, is a very fine point brush. And now we're gonna come in here and just start painting the face there. And the reason why we're starting with the lowest layer first is so that we can actually just paint on the stuff that we don't want to be this color, but it's okay because we're gonna go over it later with the correct color. And that's why we start with the lowest layer first. So let's just make sure we get this spread out so it's not too thick on there. When you're using craft store acrylics like this, it's very easy, like they're pretty thick, so. Alright, I think this is a good start. Yeah, I think that should be good. Now I'm gonna move on to, let's see, the cape is a green color, the wings are white. Probably, yeah, I'll do the cape next. So we gotta mix up our green color. We're gonna want a lot of blue for this green because it's a really dark shade of green, and just a bit of yellow, but the blue can be very overpowering. Oh, okay. That was way too much yellow, but we'll make it work. Take our palette knife and start mixing. Now, actually, what I might do is take some of this green and mix it with a little bit of brown over here to darken it up. And that might get us a good color. Okay, so that shade of green inside there, that's exactly what we want. And now get our very thin brush. Make sure we get it dried off there. Get all the old paint off of it. And now we're gonna go ahead and start doing the cape. And I'm trying to make it so that you guys can see what I'm doing here. It's a little tricky, especially with the way the lights are, but try my best. And yeah, we're gonna start here on the cape. There we go, that's the perfect green. That looks so good. Just want to make sure I'm not getting too much of it caked up in one spot. But you can see there are some areas that are too thin where the yellow is showing through. And we don't want that either. If that happens, sometimes you might just have to let it dry and do another layer. Alright, and there's that for now. I'm gonna let this dry and then start doing some more layers here. Alright, she should be mostly dry now. I'm gonna do another pass over with green on the cape to get that really covered there so the yellow's not showing through. And then I'll probably go ahead and do the wings. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now we will go ahead and do the wings. So for the wings, it looks like, according to the picture there, I need to mix up gray, pretty much. It looks basically just like gray. And then for the darker spots in there, that will come along just right when we get the wash put on. So for gray, You want a lot of white and a little bit of black, especially for that shade of gray, because that is a really light shade. So just a hair of black. And I'm actually going to mix this up with my tiny brush here. All right. And now we paint the wings. The lighting is such an issue here. I really need to figure out a solution for this. Gonna do another pass through of the cape just to make sure I get that real good. Don't want any yellow showing through there. It's mostly dry. I think it's time to move on. I'm ready to get the metallics going here. So we're gonna start with the armor. That's the most prominent color probably. And we are using Army Painter Greedy Gold for this. And for the sword, it will be Plate Mail Metal. Let's go ahead and hit the sword with our silver. So again, this is plate metal silver, or actually plate mail metal. That's what it's called. Yeah, this is basically done. So pretty much we're gonna let this dry, look over it one last time, maybe add some little details like the gemstone on the chest, the gemstone on the sword, the helmet. I might put those in there. But aside from that, I think this is basically it. Like, it doesn't look great yet, but trust me, it will. We're just gonna let it dry, and then I'm gonna go in with a wash. That's gonna add all the definition and stuff that it's lacking right now. But yeah, for the most part, I think this base coat is pretty well finished. one more thing we got to do before we get into the doing the wash is that we have to paint the base. Don't forget to do that. I'm just trying to mix up a good brown here. I know when I started filming this video and I did the skin tone, I had a good brown, but that was last night and I did not save it. Because it's, you know, you can save acrylic paint for a little while, but it's, you know, it's gonna dry up. But just as long as we have something that looks like mud, that's all we need. Alright, I think that's a good color for the base. It's a very dark brown, darker than my other bases, but it will still get the job done. It still looks like mud, it looks like the earth, and that's okay. I might actually touch up her face now while I've got this color on my brush, because there was a little spot that wasn't quite good, but now it is. Okay, when you're painting the bases, very often, I think because it's a smooth surface, there's not a lot of texture to it, the yellow or the primer will very often show through. This wouldn't be so bad if you used black primer like most people do, but with yellow like this, it's kind of a big problem. So you end up having to do quite a few layers over the base. And now you just want to be really careful to keep your brush low to the base and not paint on the armor or the cape. And now this is just going to have to dry. At this point, we have to leave her to dry. At this point, really all that's left before doing the wash is the gems, and I'm a little nervous to even do this part just because they're so small. I feel like it's gonna be kind of a pain, but I'm gonna try anyway. We'll see if I can get it, and we want a good color for a gem, and they're supposed to be green emerald gems, I feel like. Now we wait for it to dry, and then we hit it with the wash. Okay, now that our Kyrie Warrior is fully dried, we will go ahead and do our wash. This is called, by War Paints Fanatic. I keep saying Army Painter. None of these are Army Painter. They're War Paints Fanatic. That's the brand. And this is dark skin shade wash. So we're gonna do this. Put a bunch of it in there. And we're gonna start coating her with it. So I don't know if I really want to cover everything because her armor is supposed to be shiny. If we put this on, it's not gonna be the same level of shiny. So I don't know, but let's just start with the wings because we definitely want it on there. And you're just gonna start coating it just like this. Generally speaking, the wash is it's so thin that it's gonna run off of the tall surfaces, go into the dark surfaces, and drip down to the ground, basically. This is how you get your definition on your figures. This by making all the dark spots, all the lower spots dark by using this stuff. Sometimes, however, especially if you're painting it onto lighter colors, and I know they have different shades of this, which probably there's ones that are better for lighter colors, but sometimes it does not, it will actually just stain the areas and completely change the color. This might be okay so long as you're consistent with it. But I'm just gonna put all over her and leave her probably. Lately, that's what I've been doing, and it seems to be working pretty well. It's just the main issue is that, you know, yeah, it's gonna stain the lighter spots. But it does look pretty good, and old school HeroScape, it seems like they used these washes on them because they do have a lot of those darker spots and stains on them. So it helps to make them look like classic HeroScape figures. Actually, it looks really good, even with the wash on the sword. It's starting to drip off, and you can actually see the detail in the sword. It looks so good. Alright, now that the wash is pretty much dry, the last thing I'm gonna do is hit her with a dry brush technique on the wings with white. I think that'll really help, especially because that wash really kind of collected on the wings in some areas. But you can see the rest of the miniature looks really pretty good, the armor and all of that. But just those wings have too many dark spots on them. So for a dry brush technique, you're gonna get paint on your brush, and then right away afterward, get most of it off on some paper or paper towel or something, and then just lightly go over the wings like this. And try to just be very gentle so that you don't get the paint inside the grooves, inside the deep spots where the wash is at. You just want to gently coat it like this. And you could probably do like a light gray, might be better than a white, but I'm just doing white. Here is our finished miniature. Alright, so the last step to this is doing the base, which I will put a link in the description to my basing video. I'm not going to do that in this video. I'll let you guys go and check that out separately in the basing video. But yeah, here it is. That is our Valkyrie warrior. Our Kyrie warrior painted. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more HeroScape content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I've got plenty more content on the way. This last week or two, I've been uploading every single day. I'm not entirely sure if I can keep that up, But regardless, I will continue to upload several times a week. So there's plenty of content for you. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.